Hi everybody, I am Brian Mullins the Fox here. Welcome to the first of presumably 3 short-form rants going over predicting the aftermath of what's potentially going to be the first of 3 big culture shocks between 2025 and 2027. So, the revenue of the Hallmark channel is $175.7 million, and I'm assuming that's not accounting for annual ad revenue and reruns of old movies, including all the Home Alone ones. That's about $2.51 per person, accounting for about 70 million TV sets. Imagine them losing 45% of that. Now, accounting for total annual ad revenue, how much they make on Christmas movies alone per year, and their annual revenue of $175.7 million, if the first culture shock happens, they would lose a total of about $425,065,000 in a year. Meaning that if they only end up making a total of $236,565,000 in 2025 alone, they would be dealing with a deficit of $192,500,000. Or minus $192,500,000 per year. Also meaning that they will only last 2.228909090909090 more years, or 814 more days after the fact. In conclusion, by about March 18th, 2028, if the Hallmark channel does not supersede and subvert all expectations by pulling in a shitload of money, possibly in the billions, they would have to file for bankruptcy by then. And it is never out of the question that some other network would either need to buy them up and out, fold them, and make it become something else, or worst of all, dissolve and do nothing else to it or with it at all. Let's do something fun, highlighting some interesting yet useless factoids, shall we? The number of days between April 4th, 1999 and August 5th, 2001 is 854 of them. And how many days between November 16th, 1998 and August 5th, 2001? 993 of them. None of these numbers are useful in any way, but they're interesting nonetheless. Besides, it's not the worst that could happen to so many of these people. What actually is the worst of what aftermath there will be when this culture shock happens at all? And I won't spoil it because I don't have to. Ironically, given the Hallmark channel will become the biggest target of such, and I will cover what's actually the worst that will happen in the next of the 3 rant videos about the aftermath of the first culture shock, if it were to happen at all. Its predecessor, or Odyssey Network, which right before its relaunch in 1999 was only known as the Odyssey Channel, became the central target of the infamous culture shock of 1998. The following coincidences in the future will happen/occur because it's part of the trend and reason why things happened the way it did in the past and how things will happen in the future. I can sense a startlingly obvious, yet hard to grasp trend. This network was hit by 3 separate culture shocks, some of them minor in scope, 3 separate times. The first of 3 led to the roast game happening as a past phenomenon beginning on November 17th, 1998. The second of 3 led to the Easter roast game happening as a past phenomenon on April 4th, 1999. Literally on Easter that year. The third and final culture shock, in the sense of the 3, led to Odyssey Network after years of persistent failure to thrive off their 99 relaunch was folded and dissolved by Crown Media and then was launched to become the Hallmark channel in August of 2001, given that it was announced that it was going to launch a day before it actually launched. Which could be another poetic yet backwards pattern, but I won't go to the fullest extent into it, as I'll tell you now, the post-traditional Christmas era will begin 1 year after the day it was supposed to on December 25th, 2026. The Easter roast game era didn't yet begin or occur until a year after, in 2000, the first Easters of which landed on April 22nd. And guess which of the 4 seasons that the Hallmark channel's potential bankruptcy in 2028 is closest to? Yes, that's right, spring. The same season that Odyssey Network's 99 relaunch took place in. To sum up this ass-backwards comparison, the Hallmark channel relaunch is to a day after, as the death of traditional Christmas dinner is to a year after. The Jonestown Massacre in this context happened a day shy of 20 years before November 17th, 1998. By the way, in the video where I compared the roast game to the Jonestown Massacre, I meant to say U.S. Representative Leo Ryan, not U.S. Senator. My bad. Anyway, when the Hallmark channel was officially relaunched in 2001, Macaulay Culkin was still 20 years old. Families went back to eating turkey or ham after just 20 years of having not done so at that point on Christmas Day 2017, since December 25th, 1997. 20 years before. We didn't even enter into the post-roast game era until the Christmas of 2017, and poetically enough, there is one thing in common with the Hallmark Channel and Macaulay Culkin. They were both born in August. I guess it's too late for Christmas in July, after all. In the business, we call this foreshadowing, but it shouldn't surprise you all that much. And I may not have to fucking tell you which month this upcoming culture shock will happen in. But above all this, there's an even far more important trend to pay attention to, or what I would like to dub the one day after curse/effect. The roast game began to take place on November 17th, 1998, a day after the acquisition between the Jim Henson Company and Hallmark Entertainment that caused it. The Hallmark Channel launched on August 6th, 2001, a day after what was previously announced to be the official launch date, or August 5th, 2001. If the culture shock of 2026 happens at all, and half the country starves themselves for an entire day after gorging themselves on Christmas Eve, one day after, this effect actually happens twice in a row. Number one, they would starve themselves for the entirety of Christmas Day one day after they gorged themselves on Christmas Eve. And number two, they would also return to normal eating and all the other day-to-day habits and routines a day after. This one day after trend/curse is more likely to happen this year than any other before it. And the one day after trend/curse in 2026 is far more likely to happen more than once than the year before. The culture shock of 2026 will commemorate two 10-year anniversaries of sorts. Number one, it will mark 10 years since the post-roast game era began, and number two, the year 2027 itself will mark 10 years since Trump was first inaugurated as the then-to-be 45th President of the United States of America. And before I spoil what will become very obvious later on too much, I'm going to end this short rant with this one quote. This is going to ring true from here to the end of time. If history repeating itself is any indicator, the past can be just as hard to measure as the future is not to foresee. I'm Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you in the next SFR, where I go into the second of three major highlights and aspects of this culture shock's aftermath. Come Christmas Day. See you then.